Hi guys, welcome back to Plow and Pantry. I'm Alicia if you're new here, and today I thought I would bring you along to answer a question I've been getting a lot from friends lately who are starting new gardens or are going from one small half-hearted raised bed or a few pots to wanting an actual full garden as big as they have room for. And that question is, what tools do I need? And that actually can vary depending on the person and what you're planting and what your goal is. For me, I know that I have certain favorites that I use every day or almost every day when I'm in the garden. So I thought I would share those with you. And by the way, these are not big tools. I'm not talking rototillers, tractors, anything like that. These are small, everyday things, and they're all pretty affordable. So we're staying in the small range of the home gardener, not a farmer. I'm going to go ahead and start with my absolute favorite, and that is my Cobra Head hand weeding tool. I actually have two of these. Because earlier this year, this one bounced out of my UTV driving around moving logs, and I could not do without it. I realized how much I couldn't do without it. So I ordered another one on Amazon and got like this free 2-day shipping so that I could get it back in my hands right away because I was working on the garden, and I just do too much with this. This is a tool I truly use every single time I'm out in the garden. I got this original one from Baker Creek, I believe, and I got this one on Amazon. They're the same tool. This one is caked with dirt, so you can't see. It's made out of, this one's really old and it still has its shape compared to the new one. So it lasts. I pull a lot of things with this. The handle is recycled plastic. That's kind of cool that you're not using new plastic. I use this for weeding, obviously, but I have a lot of invasive grasses, like the rhizomous grasses. And so when I'm going through a weedy area and I need to get down to the root, or I need to get under grass weeds, I can just hook it and it will go, and it goes down and pulls, and it will pull those things up. It gets underneath them with way less effort than when I'm trying to use my hands. I don't want to have to get up and walk over and get my shovel. This is just my always do it tool. And I also use it, this is going to be weird, but for edging. I try to leave a space around anything that has mulch, like a 4-inch-ish space, 4 to 6 inches. Anything that has mulch so that my husband can mow without hitting the mulch. And I don't use, once or twice a year, I'll use an edging shovel to keep the edge nice, but just to keep those rhizomous grasses from growing in under there, I will just hook this around and pull out any weeds going around and any roots going around, and it makes really fast work of it. So Cobra Head is my number one. Number two, this is my favorite shovel. I got this at Lowe's. I think it was $40-something. It's Cobalt brand. It's a root cutting shovel is what it's called. I don't know if there are other brands of it that are better. I know that I love this one. It's the only one I've ever tried. And this helps me get through, not only, I have some weeds that have serious roots here, something called pokeberry. It's pretty invasive, easily spread by the birds and the berries. It's a poisonous plant, but when you try to dig, like you've got a couple leaves on top of the ground where the weed is, underneath will be this huge, long, bulbous thing, and I will find threads of the root going out. This cuts right through them. I also use this if I'm breaking new ground for just like one little hole, not a whole area that needs to be tilled, but one little hole. I use it for edging. It just cuts through things I don't use a regular shovel for anything anymore, except cleaning out the chicken coop. I use a square tip shovel for that. But this is what I use for just about any digging in the ground, and it helps me keep things clean, edges clean, and it cuts right through those thick rhizomous grasses that have lots of roots underneath that are really intertwined, and so they're dense. It just cuts right through them and helps me get them out. So I will often loosen dirt with this and then use my Cobra Head to get the weeds out, or I'll break new ground with this. But this is something I use, maybe not every time I'm in the garden, but most of the time. For garden prep work, not like out there if it's harvest time. Number 3 for my top 5. So these are my Bootstrap Farmer potting things. And I grabbed one that wasn't Bootstrap Farmer to show you for a second. So if you are starting plants from seed, you need the trays and the cells to start them in, and then you need to pop them up. And I like the Bootstrap Farmer, all of those pieces. They're way more sturdy. I'm trying to get stuff that I can reuse over and over again. And the stuff I had from last year is in like new shape this year, and the stuff I added on this year is in great shape. Just a story. I stepped on one of these by accident. I was out planting tomatoes. I had one, it fell on the ground sideways. I took a step back and stepped right on it. It did not break. Another story. I had a box with some of these trays in them. sitting in my garage, and we had a last minute hailstorm warning, and my husband moved all of our cars and things into the garage, which we only have one car in our garage. It's a 3-car garage, but because we have the UTV in there, we have a lawnmower in there, we've got deep freezers and shelving and my seed starting space, stuff like that. We have 2 cars in the driveway. So he was scooching everything to move all the other cars in to keep them safe from tennis ball size hail, and did not realize that when he moved my car forward to make room for another one, like he pulled it forward and kind of crooked, he dragged the box that had this and pinned it bent up against our deep freezer. It is no worse for this is the one that got stuck there, along with there was a sleeve of these that are just, they're used now out in the, they're sitting in the garden waiting to be planted. But total, I would not suggest that you step on them or smash them with your cars, but I was very impressed that these held up. When I saw the boxer, I was like, oh, and then because they were brand new, they hadn't been used yet. I was like, we just lost good quality stuff, because you pay for good quality stuff, you know. Contrasting to that is, I don't want to say the brand, but these were ones I bought previous years that were recommended by someone else on YouTube. And this is, they break. This is the only one that I've had last more than 1 year. It's 2 years old. They break, they twist. And if you are starting a lot of seeds like I am, you have trays and trays of these that get full. These get full of the plants, the little baby plants. You fit like 18, think wet soil plants, pots in these. You want something sturdy when you're hardening them off or taking them around, like from the, hardening them off when you take them outside for little bits at a time, more and more each day, so that they can get used to the outside before you plant them. Or if I'm taking them from where I harden them off over to the garden, like you transport these around from one part of the garden to another. You want them to be sturdy. You don't want them breaking on you. I have had to double up on these cheap ones, and they still broke on me. My Bootstrap Farmer ones, though, like you just can't twist it as much, and they're just solid. They feel heavier, thicker, and solid. So for me, these have been worth the investment, even though they cost more. And I now have almost everything I need in my setup. I am going to order about 100 more pots next year, because I was a little short this year, and I used other stuff I had on hand that I just wanted to use up and get out of the way anyways. But I will be ordering more of this stuff. The next item, and this is kind of a personal preference thing that a lot of people have different opinions about, and that is my gardening gloves. I used to not wear gardening gloves, and I started having a lot more skin issues just with the dryness from always being in the dirt. I garden like 3 hours a day. I'm digging in there. It was just really wrecking my skin. So I started wearing gloves a little more, and I came to decide that I'm very particular about the kind I like, and it's not necessarily a brand thing. I will link to what tools I can link to below in these as well. I do usually get these off Amazon. I consider these somewhat throwaway in that I order 1 pack a year. They're not that expensive. I think there's 6 or 8 pair in a pack, but I go through them because they do. Some people don't like this kind because they feel like they fall apart easily. They don't necessarily fall apart easily, but I use mine pretty rough, and they will get a little crack in here between the thumb and the forefinger, and the fingertips that I'm always using the most will start to wear off. So I go through about a pack a year. But what I look for in these gloves, first of all, besides fit, I like the ones that have like grippy rubber on one side but cloth on the other, and they're fairly thin. I don't like the thick leather gloves that you can reuse and reuse and reuse for years, because I can't get in tight enough in places. I can't, they just don't work for me. They're too bulky to work well for me. And so I look for something that is just barely covering my hand. It does protect it from things. This rubber coating makes the cloth space last longer, and it also helps you grip things so you don't lose stuff better. But if I'm getting into little spaces and stuff, I can still do that, and I still feel like I have, I guess, finger dexterity. So I get a pack of these a year. The last and 5th thing that is my favorite garden tool is actually not something I can show you right here, but all over my garden, and that is, it's a twofer. It goes together, cardboard and mulch. Cardboard you can get free. I keep all the cardboard from any shipments that come to me. I get cardboard from the local grocery store. If they're in the store like stocking and they have boxes they're breaking down, I'll ask for them and they give them to me. My Dollar General has told me I can take their boxes that are outside in their little carts so long as I don't mess up the pile. Don't assume that's okay for you. Ask any business, but most of them will want to get rid of the boxes because they have to pay for that to be carted away. They pay for the dumpster by the dumpster load. So if you take some of their trash away, their trash, then they are grateful for that. You do go for the brown regular cardboard boxes, not the kind that have a plasticky coating on them or too much color. I have boxes all over my garden, and then the mulch goes on top. Now, I have to use bag mulch. I don't live in an area where I can get bulk mulch really well. There are 2 places within a half hour of me that have bulk mulch. It is not cheaper for me. So a lot of people say if you get it bulk, it's cheaper. It's not the case for me. It's more expensive, and it's not any better of a product either. I do believe in paying for a quality product, but it's not. So I don't do that. I just use the bag mulch from my local big box store. But doing those, the places where I do that in the garden are significantly different than the places that I don't. And that includes the next spring. Now, I will say, just to dispel some myths about how awesome it is to you just put it down and there's no weeds. I will still get weeds, especially where there's seams. So I try to do thick layers, and I try to cross over really well. And then also where I am, at least, it breaks down really fast. So I have to reapply every year. But about the 3rd year, there's a lot less coming up. And then like the 4th year, there's hardly anything, you know. So it's something that as you add on new layers each year, it gets better and better. But that saves me a lot of time and work in the garden, because I don't love weeds, and I don't mind a few here and there, but if you let them go at all, at least in my area, they take over in no time. You can see one little tiny weed just breaking through one day, and 5 days later, there's 20, and you've got a heck of a battle on your hands with your shovel and your weeder trying to get through and get them out. So cardboard and mulch is something that is not necessarily I'm laying down new stuff every day as far as everyday use, but is in my garden every day. And every time I plant something new or break a new area in, that goes there. The cardboard, I can't think of a place right now in my yard that I intentionally don't use cardboard and mulch. It's in my front flower beds, it's in my vegetable garden, it's around my fruit trees, it's around my blueberries. It's a time saver for me. I know some people disagree with that, but it's something that I use, and it's proven very, very effective for me. So those are my 5 things. Let me know what your favorite things are, the tools that you must have that you use almost every time you're in the garden, because I always love to know if there's something that could be making my life easier as well. Thanks for joining me today in the garden, and I hope to see you guys in a future video.